Hey everybody, this is Bill with I Ride RV Adventures. Hope you're having a good Sunday afternoon. Daytona 500 starts here in just a little bit, and I'm gonna at least go in and watch the start of the race and maybe check on it halfway through, and then but I want to be there for the end. I don't watch NASCAR as much as I used to, but I like to watch the Daytona 500 just like I like to watch the Super Bowl, and like I try to follow the World Series as well. But anyway. I'll definitely catch the last 50 laps or so. That's always seems to be the most exciting. But I wanted to give you a quick update on where we are. We've got we're getting ready to put the interior paneling back up because we finally got all of the insulation up, and I wanted to show you the finished product there. The only thing that we have left to do, and I touched on this a little bit before, we've got this C-channel here that runs on this side of the door, and then we've also got C-channel back here that runs on either side of the back door that we'll have to get some insulation in there, and I'm still thinking about how I want to do that there. So we'll get that done when we go to put the interior paneling up, and we've already got a few pieces laid up in here getting ready to hang them back up. And something else I'd like to show you here, what we've been doing with it is, let me bend this over. We've been painting the inside of it with Kilz, and that's just to help with condensation. We don't know if it's gonna do a lot of good or not, but we're doing it, and every little bit can help. But anyway, a friend of mine told me that Kilz is probably one of the best things you can use if you're concerned about condensation and moisture. So on the inside of all the panels that go back up, we're going to make sure they're all painted with Kilz, and then we'll probably go ahead once we get them up, paint them on the other side as well with Kilz, just to for a little bit more insurance when it comes to the possibility of condensation forming. Although we've had strange weather this month of February. We've had very, very warm days, and then the very next day it'll be very, very, very cold. And I haven't noticed any condensation forming on any of the exposed metal. Still had a little bit exposed up until just a couple of days ago, and until I got all the insulation in. Quick thing I want to point out here, like in this area right here where this wire comes down, and it goes down to the clearance light that's on the top of the fender, and it goes out through there. So what we did there to make sure that we had enough room for that to float inside here, I don't want to pinch that. On this side of it, I went ahead and put 1 inch, but on this side, I put a layer of 1/2 inch there, and that'll give this room for this wire to float. And we did the same thing over here with this one that comes down on the other side, down to the clearance lights on the fenders there. Back here, we're going to have a soffit that will be built up in here that will come down and back, and will insulate the inside of the soffit. But that'll be, I'll have where I can have access to those wires there if I ever need to get access to those wires. And of course, the cabinets will be going up. Overhead cabinets will be going down pretty much down the full length of the side here, and over on this side, except where the shower is going to be. And we're going to mount the cabinets where they have a false back on them, and there will be 3/4 inches of clearance behind there, and we can take the false back out, and all the wiring will be exposed behind. That's our plan in the future. But first, of course, we got to get the paneling back up, and the interior 3/8 plywood, and then we're going to hang beadboard on top of that is what we're going to do. And then we'll start building the benches that go along here on either side of the trailer, and putting in the kitchen cabinet where the sink goes and all that. Going ahead and installing the shower then, and all that stuff. Now on the ceiling, you see here where we went ahead and got the ceiling done. And the blue tape you see here and there is just where we taped it a little bit just to kind of hold it in place. For the most part, most of these are staying up on their own because we tried to cut them as tight as we possibly could, so that they would fit fairly tight on their own. What I just wrapped up doing just now is I ran a 1x4 right down the center as a furring strip. Let me get over here where you can see it better, and run down that way and on towards the front there. And the way I mounted that in there, two things that I did, and that's a 1x4, so it's 3/4 of an inch thick. Now my intention for the ceiling, I've got one layer of 1 inch up here now. I've got one layer of 1 inch up here now. Once I get all my furring strips ran lengthwise, and there'll probably be at least 2 more on this side and 2 more on the other side running the full length of the trailer, then we will run 3/4 inch thick styrofoam on that in between those furring strips. And then we will install our beadboard ceiling on top of that. And that will give us a full 1 3/4 of insulation in the ceiling. In addition to that, that other 3/4 inch layer will cover over these crossbows here. And I've noticed, you know, on cold days, you can touch the insulation and it feels really, really nice. And you come back and you touch the studs, whether it be in the wall or on the ceiling, and you can feel that they're quite a bit cooler than the insulation, of course, is here, which that means the insulation is doing what it's designed to do. So by running the extra layer of insulation up there to end up with a full 1 3/4 of insulation on the ceiling, that second layer will cover those bows and help prevent some of that cool radiance. And I'm using the wrong word there, but it will help keep that from going ahead and telegraphing on into the trailer itself. It'll act as a barrier there as far as when the studs get cold. I wish I had enough room to go ahead and do that on the walls also, but I don't, because by the time I add an extra 3/4 of an inch on either side, I lose a total of 1.5 inches in width, interior width, and that doesn't work with the items that I want to be able to fit in here. So we're going to stick with the 1 inch thickness there. Now the way I mounted this furring strip, the two things that I used on it, and one of the tips I got was from Chris and G Travels. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but right now he is rebuilding he's doing a schoolie. He's doing a school bus. He bought I don't know how long it is, but I know it's long. It's at least 30 foot. And he actually raised the roof on it. And one of the videos, I think he's further along than the last video that I watched, but the video that I watched is where he was laying out furring strips all across the ceiling and all down the sides for when he starts hanging up all of his paneling. But the screws that he recommended to use for that, it's a sheet metal type screw, are these made by Tex, T-E-K-S. And these are available at Lowe's. It's like $7 or $8 for a box like this. And I got the number 10s, 1 7/16 inches, which is just a tad under 1.5 inches in length. So when you add up the fact that I have a 1 inch thick metal stud or a 1 inch thick metal bow, you know, in the ceiling here, and then I'm going through 3/4 inch. Now I did slightly countersink them, mainly because I needed enough thread to bite into the metal. But still, I'm still got almost 1/4 inch of clearance from the end of the screw to the outside of the stud. So I'm okay there. You know, don't have, so, you know, be sure and keep that in the back of your mind. But anyway, I screwed them on with that. In addition to that, what I did, I also ran everywhere where there was a stud, I ran a bead of Gorilla Glue construction adhesive. And of all the different construction adhesives I've used, this stuff I found will pretty much stick anything to anything. I mean, it is absolutely fabulous stuff. And it's around, it's not quite $8 a tube, tax and all, but it's right in that ballpark. And it, of course, is available at Lowe's as well. And I was just going to use standard construction adhesive plus the screws, but then I got to thinking, this is the ceiling, and you know, I don't want it to come down. So that's why I did that. So like I say, when I get on down the road a little bit, I'm going to be running more furring strips on both sides of this center furring strip that you see here. Of course, they'll probably just be out of 1x2s, which will end up being 3/4 inch by 1.5 inches, of course. And what I'm also going to do right in the middle, to accommodate wires coming down the center, one set of wires to go to my max fan at the front, and another set of wires that will end up at the air conditioner, which will be here above the kitchen area. I'm going to run a chase. I'm going to drop down an extra 3/4 inch down the center and do some kind of a decorative chase, if you will, where there'll be enough room for wires to run inside there, and plus that'll be a separate panel that I can pull off if I ever need to get to wiring that runs down this chaseway here. That'll be down the center. And I've got plenty of headroom to do that. As of right now, where I'm standing, I'm 6'3", and this is a 7-foot interior height, and I've got quite a bit of headroom right now. So another 3/4 of an inch ain't gonna matter. I'll be ending up dropping the ceiling in the center a total of 1.5 inches or so, and not quite 2 inches. And I'll need a little bit extra thickness anyway right in there to accommodate the trim ring that will be going, or the trim piece that goes on the underside of the rooftop air conditioner. So, you know, it'll need that extra space there. So those are my plans on that. I just wanted to give you a quick update on those little things. As far as I can, you know, until we won't be getting back to the ceiling for a little while, because now we're going to concentrate on getting the paneling back up, getting the beadboard up, at least on the walls, and then we'll start building the benches, like I said, down the side, getting the bottom cabinets, install the shower. But it's getting real close to time for all that other stuff to start happening. But this is kind of a quick one. It's going to be one of my shortest videos yet. And I always tell myself that this video that I'm going to make isn't going to be very long, and I end up talking too much. You know how that is. Anyway, have y'all figured that out about me so far? Anyway, and I do have a little bit of a cold today. Yeah, I picked up a cold from somebody a couple days ago, but I've got it in check. I've got it under control. It's not getting way out of hand. But guys, it's coming along. We're getting more excited all the time. I also want to mention that we just keep getting more and more subscribers. We are nudging 600 subscribers now, and that just tickles me to death. You know, I'm just so excited about that. We really appreciate that. So anyway, one more thing I'll point out right quick, just to give you a little quick idea. Some of you may already know this, but you see how I had to cut the angles, you know, for this piece that went in here, this insulation. And a real easy way to do that is what you do, you find a center and you mark it before you hang the insulation up. And the center doesn't have to be right on center, but find a center and make sure that, you know, from one edge of the cavity to the other edge, mark a corresponding mark. Put a mark here and a mark here. Then, once you have whatever you call the center, then you measure from the center over to the long point, from the center over to the short point, but you duplicate that center mark on your piece of insulation after you've cut it to the width. So when you figure out what you want for a center, you just simply go in after you cut it longer, of course, than what you need here, that you know you're going to need. Cut it longer. Then you make a center mark on your insulation and measure from the center over to what you determined was the long point, the center over what you consider was the short point, and the same thing on the opposite side. Just duplicate it. Once you do that, by coming up with a center here, and here again, it doesn't have to be exactly center. It can be an inch further that way, an inch further that way. It doesn't matter. As long as you duplicate that mark on the piece you're getting ready to cut to fit in here. And you simply measure to the long point, to the short point, to the long point, to the short point. And then when you cut it like that at that angle, it should just slip right into place. And it just so happened that when I did that, the two pieces that come off of each end just happened to fit just right in this last chunk right here. But it's not difficult, and I've seen on some YouTube videos where some folks had a little bit of difficulty trying to get it to fit right, and you can, just by thinking it through a little bit, you can have it where it fits good and tight, the way that one is right there. So anyway, you know, many of you already know this. I know you know how to do this, but I'm just pointing this out for some of those that, you know, might need just a little bit of help. That's what I'm here for. So anyway, appreciate all the subscribers, appreciate all the positive comments, appreciate all the thumbs up. I get a few thumbs down, not too many, but hey, you know, we can't please everybody. Anyway, this is just a quickie for now. We'll try to get another update up in another week or so. Hope everybody's having a good day. Hope you have a good week. And we'll see you again in another week or so. This is Bill with I Ride RV Adventures. Y'all take care, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye now.